Good evening, friends, and welcome to another live reality games podcast. My name is Kirk, and I am here to break down everything episode 11, Surviving Maine. And I just realized that the title of this says episode 12. That will be switched out when this podcast is over, and it will say the right thing. So with me today, backstage, is the person who has unfortunately eliminated this episode, and they're going to be on to talk about this. So if you don't want to be spoiled, please go to YouTube, find Surviving Maine, watch episode 11, because episode 12 is coming out in almost an hour, just under an hour at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, there's some updates that I want to bring to you guys. Reem Daly, dude, is going to be doing her first Survivor Trivia Night. Now, this is the third trivia night, to my knowledge, that George Nicolaitis and Jordan Kalish are organizing. There's a cash prize. It's $15 to play. You can see who to Venmo right at the bottom of the screen. I got to tell you guys, I did the Cerie Fields one last month. And that was one of the coolest experiences for me to actually get to meet her on Zoom. And Cerie and I were both terrible at Survivor trivia, so you don't have to be a good trivia player to actually be a Survivor, folks. So if anybody else like me wants to meet the mother of the edge of extinction, Miss Reem Daly, hit up George, hit up Jordan, $15 to play, and you could win some money as well. Now let's get into why we're here today. We're going to chat with the person who was eliminated, again, from episode 11, not 12. We will change that in just a little bit. With me today is Jessica. Welcome, Jess.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on to the show. This episode is called Getting Down to the Nitty Gritty, and that is the truth. Everybody's thinking about what to do with their idols in this episode. Everybody's talking about their future strategy to get into a Final Four, to get to a Final Three, and to get to a Final Two. If it's a Final Two, I don't even know. So, where do we start, Jess? I'm so glad you're on. How did you get cast in Surviving Maine?
My mom actually saw it on Facebook and forwarded it to me. We used to watch when we were younger, when I was younger. So she was like, "You absolutely have to do this. It's right when you come home and you don't have anything to do." She's like, "So sign up for this." So she actually really pushed me, even though I was like, "I don't know." She's like, no, sign up for this.
And it was that easy? You just applied, boom, interview, and you got on?
I guess so. I just recorded it one night. I had my friend help me, and then I just uploaded it and went from there.
So it says in your bio that you're an anthropology student. There's a little bit of love right here in my heart for anthropologists, because my sister Rachel went to school for anthropology and did that for a number of years. Do you still do that?
I'm still in grad school for it, so I'm in the second. It's really long. So yeah, I'm still working on it now.
Oh, I'm super stoked. And also with us, who had time to come on, here's Taylor. Welcome.
Hi. Hello. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I miss you. It's been a while.
It has. Good to see you both.
Good to see you both. And like I said to anybody who's popping on right now, the title is incorrect. I made two streams. I clicked the wrong one. This is episode 11 recap, and episode 12 recap is tonight, directly after the episode at 7 p.m. Jess, I feel like with you, there's so much to talk about in your particular journey of Surviving Maine. I kind of want to go back in time to your initial tribe, and I want to talk about where you felt in this tribe. We're going back to Nick, Sarah, Tricky, and of course, everybody else that just voted you out, except for Becca, if I'm correct. When this game started, day 0, night number 1, what was your initial take on this Lombard tribe?
I guess right away that there was some super fans and people who knew a lot about Survivor, and it had been a long time since I had watched Survivor. So I felt kind of thrown in and not like super like prepared with the social aspect. And then it's kind of quick. Everyone comes at you. We'll be in the middle of like the first game and they're like, okay, we're going to have an alliance over here. And you're just kind of like, all right, I guess I'm in that. It was very fast in that sense. And then there was also I don't know, everyone talks to you and then some do, but then you can never be alone or it's super awkward. I don't know if they talked about it a lot. Everyone was like really looking in the woods at first for idols, but then everyone's judging people for going in the woods for idols. So we're kind of like, do you do it? Do you not? And not seeing Survivor, I was like, oh man, there's a lot going on.
So you watched Survivor a long time ago. Like approximately how long has it been?
9-10 years since I had really watched it.
So idols in Survivor were becoming a fashion at this point, but they weren't huge like they are today.
No, I wouldn't say they were huge. I definitely remember them. And I do remember the beginning of like Exile Island and everything, but I didn't watch a lot of it. So I knew about idols, but we weren't sure if they were actually going to put them in the game. So for the beginning, we were kind of looking, not even sure if they would even put them in the game. And I honestly didn't really look at first because everyone was really judging people for looking. So I was trying not to really look at first. And actually, to be honest, I don't think I looked. I just kept stumbling on them. Yeah,
you stumbled. In fact, let's get into that because you discover how many idols in this season? 2 or 3?
3.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you are an idol queen. Wow. Okay. Do you want to take us through all 3 of these idol journeys, like Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3?
Okay, so first one's really classy. Found it in the porta potty. So it was in the hinges at the top, and you're just sitting there, you're looking around, and you look up, and there's like a bag, kind of wrapped up cloth, and I was like, cool. I don't know what to do with this. So yes, I did tell Cameron at first about that one, I think, and I told Nick. I think if Nick was there, I'm pretty sure he was.
Nick wasn't there, was he?
I was like, Nick was gone then. I think I was trying to get back in the graces of Cameron and everything that happened. Yeah. And so I figured it would be a better spot to try to put myself back in some graces with that one. The second one, I just voted for John and I came down the stairs and I looked up and I just happened, my eyes kind of went level with the idol. So I actually went over, I think it was to Liza, and I asked if I could even go and get it. I wasn't sure how the rules were when you were inside. So I was like, am I allowed to go grab that? And she said, yes. And then the third one, I still don't know if that was a good or a really bad thing. I found it. I was like passing out the buffs and I went to go grab it. And I was about to pass to Justin. And there was like a split hesitation where I was debating whether to throw it to Justin with the idol in it and hope that it could cause something or not, but because of everything, I ended up not giving it to him, took a different one and passed it to somebody else. And that's how I found them.
See, that's why I think you're a great survivor, because you had the instinct to keep it for yourself and you stayed a little bit self-interested in a game that can ask you at times to not be self-interested and to help your tribe and help other people. But to get to the end, I feel like we can get into that idol. And I think you probably have a lot of opinions about it as well. But it's so interesting, guys, like seeing a player find an idol when, your second idol, when you were probably feeling defeated at that point, like there's no going further in this game. And there it is, lo and behold. So it just goes to show you have to always stay observant in this game. You have to always be looking for stuff. And it is Survivor. I mean, if you find a piece of twine on the ground, you should use it at camp. If you find an advantage in the game, you should use it as an advantage. So there's so much that goes down at the start of this episode, but I kind of want to still just talk about the Lombard tribe. Was there anybody in this particular group that stuck out to you as somebody you wanted to work with right at the start of the game? Like, who stuck out to you as like, I can go far with this person?
So I actually liked Nick the most, and then he was not the one who went the furthest, so that was pretty hard. I liked everybody, but I felt like everyone was in such good graces with everybody else. As much as I tried with Brandon and Cameron, it felt like everyone just had connections with everyone. So I wouldn't say there was like one person where I was like, yes, you, besides Nick, who then disappeared very quickly.
Did you vote with Nick in that first elimination? That's right. Yeah. So that was the first, but it's so interesting, Jess, because you're on the outside of that initial vote, but you're consistently able to like work your way back into groups. And I still want to talk about when we get to the end of this episode, how interesting, because you potentially could have maybe done that had you used your idol. Mm-hmm. I think you had the social capital still in the game. But everybody's trying to find a final four. I mean, at the start of this episode, we hear everybody like trying to figure out who is their group. Who, Jazzy's, set in stone that she is like, I'm such a liar. Everybody knows I'm a liar. I'm just going to keep lying. Why don't they vote me out? And it's so interesting, Taylor, to see a player who's so aware of their duplicitousness, and she still keeps going. I think, Taylor, that Jazzy's doing something right with her idol. And I think it's the fact that she keeps threatening to play it. And I don't mean threaten like but she's kind of like putting out there like, oh, I'm probably going to use it this round. I think I'm going to use it. And I think that's helping to dissuade enough votes off of her so far. But do you think that's the case too, Taylor?
Yeah, she said it every single time she was going to tribal council, every single time in every confessional. I wonder if she was saying it to the people in her tribe who knew she had it, because I mean, a lot of at that point, everyone knew she had it. But I don't know. I don't know if just, was she saying that to people?
I actually don't recall. I think that we were all pretty open about it, but I don't know if she was wielding it in that kind of way. I think she was more playing the social game of like, oh, we're together, let's do this together. And then I think that was more of her inside kind of nervousness that she was talking about playing her own idol. Okay. But whenever anybody else talked about it, we would mention like, yeah, she has an idol.
Yeah, so she had that paranoia, which helped her always be aware that she might need to play it, but then also that confidence where she just didn't play it. She ended up trusting her people every time, even when, she almost went home in this episode where you did, Jess.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like at this point in the game at Final 7, you have an idol, Jazzy has an idol, Becky has an idol, and I feel like most of the players in the game are aware of said idols, or at least at different points we hear people talk about different idols. So at least some people are aware of all of them. I don't think there's any idol that's completely secret at this point.
Becky's idol is completely secret. No one knows about that. And I don't think Becky knew about Jess's idol at all. And I don't know if maybe Becca did. I don't know. Tony didn't.
Oh, wow.
I think Tony and Becky didn't know.
So Jazzy saw and Brandon saw. Yeah. And then because I was with all four of us were kind of talking, I was like, well, if I don't tell Cameron, this is going to look really bad if he gets it from them. So then basically, I think it's us four knew, and I was at a disadvantage already because I was like, I can't tell if this is going to hurt me even worse now, because now they know, and now they're like, oh, she did it again. But so I told him, so like more than half basically knew, and then I think the other ones didn't, or they might have heard from them.
That's so interesting. I want to take us back to Bateau, where we were talking about that second idol play, and the first idol play of yours, actually. When you got to this tribe, the way Taylor created this edit is she really, I don't think you hyper-focused, but we saw this connection between you and Justin, both being Marines. Was there any chance that you would have ever flipped to work with Justin at any point? Was that Marine connection ever a thing?
I think I tried to pull like him over with it and it didn't really work. But when they had a lower like number in comparison with Skitter and Lombard, I think I could have. It's just genuinely, I didn't ever find a time to talk to them and be able to strategize in that sort of way without anybody on the Lombard team kind of looking at me. And then I got rid of Katie, who they were really fond of. And then John. So I wasn't even sure if I did that, how long they would have even kept me around. So I was really stuck there. But I think if I could have, I would have. because I didn't think I was in very good graces in my own prior tribe either.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good sense. When we saw the two of you talking right before the merge, I remember thinking like, ooh, I hope this works. I hope this is a thing. That was
I hope so too. I never got a chance. And anytime we were together, it was like everybody was together and they like looked at us like they knew, and I couldn't even find a way. Sometimes like there's one time where I did like a head nod to him, but he thought I was saying he was going to go, not telling him like, no, you're good. I was like, you're good. You're like, I talked to them, you're good. And he thought I was saying you're gone. So even when we did try to, it fell apart.
Okay, so
my God.
Yeah, so like a misinterpretation of a read, which is super important in Survivor. For people who don't play, you do have to do nonverbals all the time. They don't always make the cut, but it's poker. You're doing a lot of that where you're just like winking at somebody, like whispering as they walk by. So Katie first was your choice because she was so well liked.
It was because like Forrest came and visited and people came and visited and they would like report to Katie. Like they'd be like, hey, what are we doing? And I was like, okay, I don't know. Her and Justin both seem in here, but Forrest came up and was basically getting direct kind of instructions from her. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to go here because she seems to be giving a lot of instructions. And so I can at least confuse them if I take her out.
That was so brilliant, I gotta say. And could I share something from like an observer who was there just watching? I was hanging out with Jess's mom, and I think your grandma was that? Yeah, the whole weekend they were like my buddies, and we were like watching together. So I was rooting for Jess the whole time because I was hanging out with her mom and grandma. But I had no idea that Jess had found the porta potty idol. And so like I went off to sleep that night when they had the tribal, and the next morning I came, like 7 a.m. and I was like, oh, did Jess get voted off? And Liza was like, she idled out Katie. And I was like screaming in the woods, like screaming. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because I didn't like Katie because I thought she didn't want to work with Becky. And that was mostly what I cared about.
Fair enough. Makes sense. Yeah. Katie, I still loved you. I thought you were fun to play because I don't know. I liked your vibe.
She was good. She was really good.
Brandon.
Oh, Brandon.
Did someone, you know what, Brandon, in all fairness, I think I've been misinterpreting some of your gameplay all season because you're sitting here at the final 6 in what looks like a really pretty good spot, Mr. Disney. So I think I've been wrong. I think at one point I called it Brandon's BS. I don't think you're selling BS. I think you're selling them gold. I think you're in a good spot, my friend.
If it's BS, they're buying it, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. 100%. Brandon even says in this episode, he doesn't think Becky is going home this soon. Like in this episode, he's thinking people are going to want to make a move at 7. And that's right. People like to make moves during those odd numbers in Survivor because you can it's easier to kind of finagle the vote. It's easier to split the vote sometimes. And Cam talks about, he's ready for final tribal council. Like Cam's already there. He's practicing his speech. He's talking about how after the Emily vote, that started the snowball into the avalanche that is truly effectively been what this season is. I mean, it's true that if Emily doesn't get voted out, I think we see a potentially a completely different scenario at the next vote.
Absolutely. That was brilliant on their part. I think Jess and Cam were responsible for that Emily vote. Is that right?
Jazzy, I think, was more in that.
Oh, everything that I saw was Jazzy hated it and she wanted to get rid of one of the 3 guys.
I feel like I don't even remember now. It's been so long.
So, it's fair.
I was pretty go with the flow at that point too, because I felt like they did a lot of team bonding that I was not able to be a part of. So I was definitely behind. So whatever they could go with that wasn't going for Justin at that time, I was going to do it. I just could never utilize the Justin connect.
Yeah, but you did try to keep him safe, which I noticed that, which was also really smart for you.
Absolutely.
I think. Go ahead, Kirk.
Oh, Taylor, you continue.
I was just gonna say, I think where Jess was disserved by not having watched Survivor in recent years was knowing that at the final 7 is when those cracks are gonna become chasms, and that's when you need to be afraid. And that you probably would have played the idol if you had, been watching the show, because it's obvious if you're watching just like since season 35 or something.
It was interesting because I watched later, and I think it was both Cameron and Brandon. They're like, we're just waiting for someone to make a move, whether it's like getting Jazzy or Jess out. And it's like, I feel like both me and Jazzy were trying that the whole time, and it wasn't working. Like, I loved working with her, and then we were also working against each other. And so we kept telling everyone to go for each other, and it just never happened. And so this was like the one episode where I like gave in. I was like, okay, we'll just go for 5. No. I won't suggest it this time.
But like you said, Jess, it didn't seem like an easy season to make some moves, because clearly some players are kind of, I don't want to say Boston robbing the situation, but Justin even mentioned keeping big groups around. And we know by watching different seasons that sometimes if you keep key people around other people, it prevents them from saying things. And I think maybe that is something, I don't know if it was planned, but maybe that's kind of what was happening, because in these big groups, you didn't feel comfortable making these suggestions. And then how do you break off in the short amount of time that you guys did have? It was almost like these big groups were filibustering some of these ideas from coming to fruition, which is a strategy, I think, for future people to think about. How do you break up these big groups when they happen? What do you do? That would be, we'd probably make a whole podcast about just tactics you could use for that scenario, because it happens so much in Survivor. Like when you're sitting at your camp, like Jess was talking about, how do you go look for an idol? How do you bring up that conversation and make it okay for people to break up and start talking? I don't know what the answer is to that.
I didn't either.
I think you're gonna love the interview I did with Jess. That's on the Surviving Maine YouTube channel. Jess actually had a really awesome idea for a twist for live reality games, where you would break people up into groups during downtime and force like 2-on-2 or like 2 here, 3 here, 2 here, force them to be in groups separated. And she called it like a kind of like a chat roulette, like a speed dating thing, which was like this brilliant idea. And I know they do something similar on Sequester, but I just thought that was so fascinating, and how different this season would have turned out if, like, Jess had time to talk to Justin, or if Justin and Jazzy had more time in the last episode to do something,
This is a really interesting idea, Taylor and Jess. I feel like this is getting a little bit closer to the heart of Survivor in the sense of reward challenges, because they're designed to make some people very happy and other people maybe envious, or some might instill some other type of emotion. And if we start breaking people up in different groups, or maybe sometimes the twist could be having the choice be the person who wins a reward or does something or does some action or finds an advantage, then it could become even more tricky, because Jess is now picking the groups. And why didn't Jess pick me? I'm Jess's best friend, So I could see that this idea could be used in a ton of different ways. And like you said, I think they call it speed dating, or the date night in Sequester.
Yeah, date night.
Yep.
Yeah.
But this would be fun to see in Survivor. I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Somebody do this. There's a lot of shows coming up this summer. Somebody steal this idea, add it in.
Give credit to Jess.
Yes, give credit to Jess and invite her onto your season, because we need to watch her play again, clearly. So we get to the immunity challenge. This is notable because Cameron wins his second individual immunity, making him safe again at Merge. It came down to, surprisingly, Cameron versus, I don't know if it's surprising, but Cameron versus Tony. And it had Tony won this, that would have been his second win or third win? second?
I think second. So
Okay.
it was Cameron's second, and it would have been Tony's second. Yeah.
Okay, so they were both up for their second immunity win. How fun! and I mean, the thing is like winning immunity could be such a growing target on Cameron or Tony. I wonder how this is going to effectively maybe change things at Final Six. I don't know. So this is what's interesting, I think, when we get to this part, is at the Final Seven, we have Jess with an idol, Becky with an idol, Jazzy with an idol, Cameron is safe, and then we have Becca, Tony, and Brandon with nothing. They're completely out in the open. They have to use their social capital to stay in the game this round. And none of them, do any of them even get votes?
No, the only people who got votes were the three people with idols.
With idols. That's what I thought. This is interesting. And like you said, Taylor, not everybody is aware of all of the idols. Or some people might have some information, but it's clearly that the instincts of this group of seven their survivor instincts are spot on. I feel like they're knowing whether or not they have the information or not, they're knowing the right move, who to take out, because at seven, you have to take out an idol. You can't, if you don't do it, what was the conversation with Cameron, I believe, where he says, what if I'm at 5, was it with you, Jess? Or I can't remember who this was with.
It was with Jess.
Yeah.
And so he was looking at having 2 idols out of 5.
Yeah, which puts him in a terrible position.
So it makes sense that he wanted to get rid of one of them.
Absolutely.
And that's where I
think,
was, maybe the idol wasn't a good blessing the third time.
Yeah.
I keep wondering, are they blessings? It's really hard to say, because no matter what, they always increase your threat in Survivor, at least in 2021 Survivor, they increase your threat. But after you play an idol, they can sometimes decrease your threat depending on how you play it. Your threat level's still a little bit higher, but I think it goes down. It never matches where you were, but I think it's never as high as it was. So in that sense, playing it at 7 isn't necessarily a terrible idea, not just for you, but I think for all of the contestants at this point. I can't remember, did you know about Jazzy's idol?
Yes.
Did you two ever talk about teaming up together to make some poverty heroes versus villains type move at Final 7?
No, I feel like we always had talked like we were going to be in the last 4 or 5, but I was very aware she was gunning for me, and she was very aware I was gunning for her.
Yes.
And so it really couldn't allow us to come together because we just didn't trust each other enough. Like, we liked each other and we would talk a lot. I actually talked to her more than I did other people in the tribe, but it was like, in the end, it was not like a let's partner up kind of talk.
What do you think you could have done differently, Jess, in that last morning? What conversations would you have had to change it up a little bit?
I would have actually gone for Jazzy one more time. I had done that originally, but I did it with Sarah, and I didn't know that they knew each other, and that I did it with others, and it never happened. And so I really just gave up on it. So I probably would have, if I had known that they were waiting for us to try to make this move, I probably would have just tried to do that one more time.
Yeah. There is that moment with Cam where he's telling you he's worried about the 2 idols and having 2 idols in a 5. And like, if there's 2 idols and I'm in the final 5 with you, why would I not be voted out? And at that point, I think that was the one opportunity you could have had to say, okay, let's get rid of Jazzy now. Yeah. And maybe that would have been the plan instead of, because that's what there's 2 people who voted for Jazzy. And we're going to see in the next episode, they thought something completely different was going on based on conversations they had that night and that morning. And so that actually could have happened, I think. Ouch.
That was my other thing. I didn't talk to kind of outside the main power group because I felt like I was not going to rally their numbers. I thought they were pretty strong behind kind of the alliances with Brandon, and So I felt like I couldn't get enough people. It would be like reforging a lot of relationships and trying to break them down. And I also kind of was a little, because I had been gone, they had this whole time to really bond together while I was just surviving in the last one. So they got closer, and then I was now a threat that they didn't even get to bond with, and I was already on the outs in the beginning. So I didn't feel like I could gather some sort of like outlier kind of players at this point, which I probably should have tried.
Absolutely. Losing Justin, I think, was going to be a deficit. It was going to be, like you said, it was going to be hard to work with him. You didn't have an easy route to the end at this point in the game, but it was going to be something like keeping Justin around. It was going to be a hard move, like convincing Jazzy to work with you or play the idol. I feel like if, like what Taylor says, if you watch more Survivor and you're considering, maybe I'm going to play the idol just because another idol will be maybe hidden next round, and maybe I can go look for it right after tribal council's done, which is what some modern players think of as like a benefit, even if I'm going to waste it because I'm not getting any votes. If you use that, I'm curious what both of you think. Do you think Jazzy and or Becky play their idols in response, thinking, oh no, I might have votes against me? Do we have an idol apocalypse?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, we were so
Absolutely.
close.
And there would have been no votes. And then either Tony, Becca, Brandon, oh, that's it.
That's it.
Cam has immunity. One of them goes. Because absolutely, Jess plays her idol, Jazzy's up in a second, like, oh, interesting, I'm going to play mine too. And then Becky's going to feel cornered, and she's going to have to as well.
And so to break it down to those of you who don't remember or haven't seen it, Jess had 4 votes, Jasmine had 2, Becky had 1. That would have negated all 7. What we're saying is a 0-0-0 vote. That would be maybe a Survivor first, like 3 people getting 0 votes. I don't know if this has happened before.
Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind is, what was it? It's like Game Changers, where but that was more advantages, right? Where Suri ends up going. God, what an awful episode.
Oh, that's right. Speaking of Suri, got to meet her last month. You can meet Reem Daily on Friday. Jordan and George's trivia night. Check it out. So essentially, we see people possibly trying to nab a final 4 here. This is always the move at 7 that some players will try to make. How can I create a small group of 4 to get further in? And 3 of these members had a campfire night that they really enjoyed on night 1, and they're still collaborating together, it seems like, even though I think they're threatened by each other to an extent. So it's kind of interesting. Like I'm not sure if Cameron, Brandon, and Jazzy would want to sit next to each other at a final 3. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because at different times they've said different things. Like, I think they've all said the same things, that I would love to sit in the, except for Cam, I would love to sit in the end with 3, have it be 3 people who are the best players left in the game. Cam is usually, I think he's the only one who is very consistent that he does not want to go with Jazzy at all. And Jess too. I think he was pretty consistent with that too, that they were just too big of threats, that Jess had been friendly with some skitters and she would have got votes in the end and he couldn't win against her, that Jazzy was seen as playing the best game. He wouldn't want to go against her. But Brandon and Jazzy are a little more like open to the idea of having like a more like a Warriors only final 3. And they probably would have been fine going to the final with Jess,
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense because they've kind of mentioned that as well. I feel like Jazzy's personality, she's just gonna like just hit the finish line and I'll beat anybody I'm sitting next to. Whoever came in second and third, they're in second and third. I just feel like Jazz. Oh, look at that braids beauty bra. Yes, okay. Absolutely. And then there's Tony in this group of 4, because Taylor, I don't know if you showed all the votes this round at the end. I feel like, did we see them all or just?
I think so.
Okay, in my rewatch, I just skipped over then.
I'm not totally sure, but I'm pretty sure because it was 1 Becky, 2 Jazzy, 4 Jess.
Yes.
I don't know if all 4 Jess were shown. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I meant who voted for whom. That's
at the end, yeah. Mm-hmm.
okay. So we know Brandon, Jazzy, Cameron, and Tony voted for Jess, and I know Becca voted for Jasmine. Okay, so the other two are I get it now. So Becky voted for
Jazzy
as well. Okay, that makes sense. Now, Tony is an interesting one because I feel like Tony has been really, including myself, I put him way down on the list at the start. I've seen him play before. He seems to be gaining social capital, gaining better positions as this game goes on. But I still think people are planning on taking him as a GOAT. But you know what? It just makes me wonder if Tony has the potential to articulate what his game was.
If he makes a big move, yeah, totally. And I think he's such a lovable guy. I don't know. Anytime in the game, I didn't think much of him, but like editing all the footage, I just want to give him a hug every time he's on screen. Yeah. He's just so cute. But what did you think about him, Jess? Other than that, he was super quiet and maybe. Yeah.
I did think he was super quiet. I kind of thought the same thing. He was very sweet. He was very nice to everybody. He talked about his kid a lot, which was very sweet. So I guess that was it. It was kind of, he was a sweet guy. It wasn't so much that he was competitive. It felt like he was trying to float. And at the time, there was so much competitive people. We were like, okay with that. It gave us like this sort of buffer. We're like, okay, we're not focused on you as much as we are, these individuals.
I think Tony is being underestimated, though. I think he's actually like pretty smart and knows what he's doing. And I think the floater game is a good game. Like that would have to be what I would do if I were playing. I'd have to float by, but then I'd have to also make a big move to get any votes in the end. So we're gonna see, I guess.
Yeah, can Tony? I mean, there's not much time left. It's got to come soon. If he's going to make a move, it's got to be soon. You just created maybe a core group of 4. You go against the 4. You choose people who are maybe a little bit better. I'm just really interested to see, does he take the easy route or does he take maybe a more difficult route for maybe a bigger reward if he gets to the end of the game? And Jazzy just said the same thing too. And I think underestimate is the perfect word to use for him, especially in this season. And that's not a terrible place to be in Survivor. Underestimated is kind of a
great place.
Yeah, that's where you want to be. So Tony, congrats. You're doing something so right this season. I'm so proud of you, my friend. Good job. Oh man. Jess, what were, you finally got to play Survivor. Your mom convinced you to come out and do this. What, for people who play Surviving Maine in the future, what are they going to get out of this experience?
Stress. No, it was really fun. I don't know. I was completely unprepared. I had no idea. I don't really play the Survivor games. It's been so long since I played it. You do really get in depth of it, and I wasn't sure if like a kind of enactment of it would feel as real as like if you had gone, but it was like very stressful. Like you were always thinking out your next move, but you're always wondering everybody else's move. So you got really engrossed in the game. So it was actually very, very fun. I really liked the competitions. I think that was my favorite part. I liked that more than the social part. So the games were really fun. They were really creative. And you get really into those too. So I don't know, you get really ingrained in the game a lot more than I thought. And then we still have a little chat. So it's like we all still kind of talk, and then we have a reminder. So it's really nice. You meet people too.
Definitely can gain new friends and family and a whole lot of stress out of these experiences. That is very true. Jess, now that you've been through it as well, and you talked about you weren't prepared, what are some steps that you might take to prepare if you ever played again, or a person who's coming to Surviving Maine, what might they do or inform themselves about before they show up?
Watch the episodes, I think, especially watch the episodes. Be prepared to do the blind side, but know when. I feel like I was a little too hesitant the whole time and find ways to sneak off and talk to people. And apparently find idols, they help you.
Easier said than done, Jess.
Yeah, Jess, I mean, you're in the top for LRG contestants.
Yeah.
3 idols in one season is the tops of the list. I don't know if anybody's ever found a 4th idol in one season, so we'll hit the history books. But I think you're there in the top contenders of all LRGs, which is quite impressive, my friend. Mm-hmm. Before we head out, we have about 13 minutes before episode 12 drops. I know if you just joined in, it says episode 12 here. We're going to recap episode 12. My bad. But Taylor, it's 13 minutes away. Do you want to give us a little teaser, a little bit of something, please?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Absolutely. We saw a split in the votes. There's going to be a fallout from this. Some people are not pleased, and they believe they have been lied to by people in their own alliance. And there will be a huge fallout. And I got to say, the most epic tribal council I've ever seen. Period.
Oh my God. Okay. So it's my partner Nick's birthday today. They're all celebrating.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Nick. Just so I was supposed to do that at the start. I did it at the end. I have to go get something to eat because I'm going to be taking notes furiously while this episode is on. You're going to need to. Yeah. And I will see you guys later tonight. We're going to see you, Jess, in the episode at Tribal Council. And I can't wait to see how you decide to vote. Oh, thanks, Jazzy. Happy birthday, Nick. You guys are the best. I need to go eat. Taylor, I'll see you a little bit later. Jess, thanks for joining us.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.